A cryptic map, a scream in the night, and a box of ancient secrets unearthed beneath a looming bronze statue. Hercule Poirot stands on the edge of a mystery that threatens to unravel Ashford Manor's polished facade. Grab a cup of tea, take a seat, and dive deeper into this twisting tale. If you're gripped by the suspense, hit subscribe. Your support means everything to us. Chapter 1. The Enigmatic Invitation. The rain pattered relentlessly against the windows of Hercule Poirot's cozy apartment at Whitehaven Mansions, casting a melancholic veil over the bustling city outside. It was one of those dreary autumn evenings in London where the fog seemed to swallow the world whole, and even the most steadfast souls longed for the warmth of a fire. Poirot, the meticulous Belgian detective, with his impeccably waxed mustache and piercing gray eyes, sat in his armchair, sipping a tisane from a delicate porcelain cup. His little gray cells, as he fondly called them, were restless tonight, yearning for a puzzle worthy of their attention. Little did he know, the postman had just delivered the spark that would ignite one of his most perplexing cases yet. As Poirot set down his cup, his faithful companion, Captain Arthur Hastings, burst into the room, his face flushed from the chill outside. "Poirot, old chap, you've got to see this. An invitation just arrived. Looks rather posh." Hastings, ever the enthusiastic Englishman with his boyish charm and unwavering loyalty, handed over a cream-colored envelope sealed with a wax emblem of a rearing horse. Poirot's eyes narrowed as he examined it, his fingers tracing the intricate design. "Ah, mon ami, this is no ordinary summons. The paper is of the finest quality, and the seal, it belongs to the estate of Lord Reginald Ashford, no?" With a precise flick of his letter-opener, Poirot revealed the contents. A handwritten note on heavy vellum inviting him to a weekend gathering at Ashford Manor, a sprawling estate in the countryside known for its opulent gardens and ancient artifacts. The host, Lord Ashford himself, a wealthy industrialist with a penchant for collecting rare antiquities, requested Poirot's presence for what he described as a matter of utmost discretion and intrigue. The note hinted at a recent acquisition, a magnificent bronze statue of a Greek warrior, unearthed from a forgotten dig in the Mediterranean, that had stirred unexplained disturbances among the household. "Disturbances, you say?" Hastings mused, peering over Poirot's shoulder. "Sounds like ghost stories to me, probably just the wind rattling the old pipes." But Poirot shook his head, his mind already whirling like a well-oiled machine. "No, Hastings, Lord Ashford is not a man given to flights of fancy. He is a collector of truths as much as treasures. There is something beneath the surface here. Secrets, perhaps, hidden under that bronze statue. We must accept this invitation. Pack your bags, mon ami, we leave at dawn." As they prepared, Poirot couldn't shake the feeling that this was no mere social call. In his years solving crimes among the upper echelons of society, he had learned that wealth often masked the darkest of motives: greed, jealousy, betrayal. The statue, he pondered, might be more than a relic. It could be a key to unlocking a vault of buried sins. The journey to Ashford Manor was a picturesque escape from London's smog, the train chugging through rolling hills dotted with sheep and ancient stone walls. Hastings chattered excitedly about the weekend ahead, imagining fox hunts and fine dinners, but Poirot remained contemplative, gazing out at the passing landscape. "Remember, Hastings, in the world of detection, one must observe everything, the twitch of an eyebrow, the hesitation in a voice. At the Manor, we will meet a cast of characters, each with their own facade." Upon arrival, the Manor loomed like a sentinel from a bygone era, its ivy-clad towers piercing the sky. A butler with a stern expression greeted them at the grand oak doors, ushering them into a foyer adorned with marble busts and tapestries depicting heroic battles. Lord Ashford, a tall man in his 50s, with silver-streaked hair and a commanding presence, welcomed them warmly in the drawing-room. "Monsieur Poirot, Captain Hastings, your reputations precede you. I'm grateful you've come." Seated around a roaring fireplace were the other guests, Lady Evelyn Ashford, the Lord's elegant wife, whose emerald eyes held a flicker of unease, Dr. Marcus Hale, a renowned archaeologist with dirt-streaked hands and a scholarly air, who had overseen the statue's excavation, Miss Clara Beaumont, a young heiress and Ashford's niece, her beauty rivaled only by her sharp wit, and Sir Geoffrey Langton, a rival collector with a booming laugh that didn't quite reach his calculating eyes. As introductions flowed, Poirot noted the subtle tensions, the way Lady Evelyn avoided Dr. Hale's gaze, or how Sir Geoffrey's fingers drummed impatiently on his chair. Over a sumptuous dinner of roasted pheasant and vintage wine, the conversation turned to the bronze statue, now proudly displayed in the manor's central courtyard. "It's a masterpiece from the Hellenistic period," Dr. Hale explained, his voice animated. "Depicts Achilles, forged with such detail you can almost see the fury in his eyes. But since its installation, odd things have happened. Tools vanishing from the garden shed, whispers in the night, and yesterday a groundskeeper swore he saw shadows moving beneath it." The group chuckled nervously, but Poirot leaned forward. "And you, Lord Ashford, what do you believe? Is there something under the statue?" The Lord paused, his fork hovering. "That's why you're here, Poirot. Rumors from the dig site spoke of a hidden compartment, perhaps containing artifacts or curses. I need your expertise to uncover the truth before it disrupts my household further." As the evening wore on, Poirot and Hastings retired to their guest rooms, the manor's creaking floors echoing like secrets in the dark. But sleep eluded Poirot. Instead, he paced, piecing together the fragments. Why invite a detective to what seemed a trivial matter? And those glances at dinner, alliances forming or fractures deepening? Outside, the wind howled around the bronze statue, its imposing form casting long shadows under the moonlight. Little did Poirot know, the first clue was about to surface, quite literally, from the earth below. In the dead of night, a piercing scream shattered the silence. Hastings bolted upright, grabbing his robe, while Poirot, ever composed, slipped on his slippers and hurried downstairs. The guests converged in the courtyard, where the groundskeeper lay sprawled near the statue, a shovel clutched in his hand. I was checking the base," he stammered, his face pale. "Something moved, dirt shifting like a hand reaching up." Dr. Hale knelt to examine the spot, brushing away soil to reveal a small, unearthed box, its lid engraved with ancient symbols. Lady Evelyn gasped, clutching her pearls. "What in heaven's name is that?" Poirot's eyes gleamed as he inspected the find. "Ah, mon ami, this is no accident. Someone has been digging, perhaps for treasures long buried. But why now? And who?" The box, when opened carefully, contained a faded parchment, a map of the estate, marked with an X directly under the statue. Whispers erupted among the group, accusations flying like arrows. Sir Geoffrey eyed Lord Ashford suspiciously. "You knew about this, didn't you? That's why you bought the statue, to hide your family scandals." Miss Clara stepped forward, her voice steady. "Uncle, is this true? Father always said there were secrets in our lineage." As dawn broke, Poirot gathered everyone in the library, his demeanor calm amid the chaos. "We have a mystery on our hands, a secret under the bronze statue that someone desperately wants revealed or concealed. I shall investigate, using order and method. Hastings, assist me in questioning the staff. To the group, he added, do not leave the manor. The truth will surface soon. With that, the detective set his little gray cells to work, knowing this was merely the beginning of a web of deceit that tangled deeper than the roots beneath the earth. This chapter sets the stage with our intriguing cast and the first hint of buried secrets, building suspense as Poirot begins his probe. Stay tuned for Chapter 2, where the digging unearths more than just dirt, revelations that could shatter alliances.
Chapter 2. Shadows of Suspicion. The morning sun cast a golden glow over Ashford Manor, but its warmth did little to dispel the chill that had settled among the guests after the groundskeeper's startling discovery. Hercule Poirot stood in the library, his sharp eyes scanning the parchment map found in the mysterious box. Its faded ink traced the estate's grounds with a bold X marking a spot beneath the bronze statue of Achilles. The detective's mustache twitched as he pondered the implications. This was no mere relic. It was a beacon pointing to something hidden, perhaps for centuries. Captain Hastings, ever eager, hovered nearby, his notebook open. "What's the plan, Poirot? That map's got to lead somewhere." Poirot folded the parchment carefully, tucking it into his waistcoat pocket. "Mon ami, a map is only as good as the intentions behind it. We must learn who knew of its existence and why it surfaced now. Let us begin with the groundskeeper, Mr. Wilkes, whose scream alerted us all." The two made their way to the servants' quarters, a stark contrast to the manor's grandeur, with plain wooden floors and a lingering scent of polish. Wilkes, a wiry man with a weathered face, sat hunched over a cup of tea, still shaken. "I swear, sir, I was just tending the roses near the statue when the ground gave way under my shovel. That box, it wasn't buried deep. Someone's been digging recently." Poirot's eyes gleamed with interest. "Recently, you say? And did you see anyone near the statue in the days prior?" Wilkes hesitated, glancing nervously at the door. "Well, I saw Miss Clara out there 2 nights ago, pacing like she was looking for something. And Dr. Hale, he's always poking around the gardens, muttering about artifacts." Poirot nodded, his mind cataloging the details. "Merci, Monsieur Wilkes. Your observations are most valuable." As they left, Hastings whispered, "Clara? She seemed so composed at dinner. And Hale, could he be after more than academic glory?" The detective led Hastings to the courtyard, where the bronze Achilles stood tall, its polished surface reflecting the morning light. Poirot knelt beside the statue's base, examining the disturbed soil. "Observe, Hastings, the earth here is loose, not packed as it should be after years. Someone has tampered with this spot, perhaps to plant the box for us to find." He stood, brushing dirt from his pristine suit. "We must speak with Miss Clara Beaumont. Her nighttime wanderings intrigue me." They found the heiress in the conservatory, surrounded by vibrant orchids, her delicate hands arranging flowers with a precision that rivaled Poirot's own. "Miss Beaumont," Poirot began, his tone courteous but probing, "you were seen near the statue 2 nights ago. May I ask what drew you there?" Clara's fingers paused, and a flicker of unease crossed her porcelain features. I couldn't sleep, Monsieur Poirot. The statue, it's magnificent, isn't it? I was merely admiring it under the stars." Her smile was charming, but Poirot's keen gaze caught the slight tremor in her voice. "Admiration is a fine thing," he replied, "but the groundskeeper suggests you were searching, perhaps for something buried?" Clara's eyes widened, then narrowed. "That's absurd. I'm no treasure hunter. Uncle's collection is fascinating, but I leave the digging to Dr. Hale." Their conversation was cut short by a commotion from the manor's east wing. Lady Evelyn Ashford's voice rang out, sharp and frantic. "It's gone," she cried. "A page from my husband's private notes, detailing the statue's acquisition. Someone tore it out." Lord Ashford, entering behind her, looked grim. "That journal was locked in my desk. Only a few have access to this room." His gaze swept over the gathered guests, Clara, Dr. Hale, and Sir Geoffrey Langton, who had just joined them, his usual joviality replaced by a tight-lipped frown. Poirot stepped forward, his presence commanding silence. "A missing page is no coincidence, mes amis. It suggests someone wishes to obscure the statue's origins or what lies beneath it. Lord Ashford, what did this page contain?" The Lord hesitated, then sighed. "It described a legend from the dig site about a warrior's tomb sealed with a curse. I thought it nonsense, but Dr. Hale insisted we take precautions." Hale shifted uncomfortably, his scholarly demeanor fraying. "It's true," he admitted. "The locals warned of a guardian spirit tied to the statue. I dismissed it, but now I'm not so sure." Hastings, ever practical, interjected, "A curse? Surely this is just someone playing tricks." But Poirot's expression remained grave. "No, Hastings. Whether curse or clever ruse, someone in this manner is orchestrating events. We must examine this study." His meticulous inspection revealed a faint smudge of dirt on the desk's edge, similar to that found near the statue. "Curieux," Poirot murmured. "The same soil here, in a locked room. Our culprit is bold." He turned to the group. "No one is to touch this desk. I will require statements from each of you about your whereabouts last night." As the guests dispersed, Sir Geoffrey lingered, his eyes narrowing at Dr. Hale's retreating figure. "That man knows more than he lets on," he muttered to Poirot, "always scribbling in his notebooks, sketching that statue like it's his obsession." Poirot nodded thoughtfully. "And you, Sir Geoffrey, what is your interest in this statue? A collector like yourself must find it tempting." He laughed, but it sounded forced. "Tempting, yes, but I don't steal, Poirot. I outbid." His words carried a hint of defiance, and Poirot filed it away for later scrutiny. By afternoon, the manor buzzed with unease, the guests eyeing each other with suspicion. Poirot and Hastings retreated to the library to review their findings. "We have a map, a missing journal page, and a trail of dirt," Hastings said, scratching his head. "But who's behind it? Clara, Hale, or someone else entirely?" Poirot tapped his temple. "Patience, mon ami. The little gray cells are at work. Tonight we shall watch the statue closely. If our culprit seeks what lies beneath, they will return." He glanced out the window, where the bronze warrior stood silent, guarding its secrets under the gathering clouds. As night fell, Poirot prepared for a vigil, his mind racing with possibilities. The map, the journal, the dirt, all threads in a tapestry of deception. But whose hand wove it? The answer lay just out of reach, buried in the shadows of Ashford Manor. The stage was set for a confrontation that would unearth more than secrets. It would reveal the heart of a desperate plot. The mystery deepens as suspicions swirl and clues point in every direction. In Chapter 3, a midnight stakeout at the statue uncovers a shocking betrayal, pulling Poirot closer to the truth.
Chapter 3. The Midnight Vigil. The moon hung low over Ashford Manor, casting an eerie silver glow across the courtyard where the bronze statue of Achilles stood like a silent sentinel. Hercule Poirot, wrapped in a dark overcoat to ward off the autumn chill, positioned himself behind a thick yew hedge, his sharp eyes fixed on the statue's base. Captain Hastings crouched beside him, his breath visible in the crisp air, a pair of binoculars clutched tightly. "This feels like a stakeout from one of those detective novels, Poirot," Hastings whispered, his voice tinged with excitement. "Do you really think our culprit will show?" Poirot's mustache twitched. "Mon ami, when secrets are buried, the guilty cannot resist returning to the scene. We wait and we observe." The manor was cloaked in silence, its windows dark, except for a faint flicker from the servants' quarters. Poirot had instructed the household to retire early, claiming he needed quiet to think.
but his true purpose was to lure the mysterious figure who had been tampering with the statue's base. The detective's mind buzzed with questions. Why plant a map only to steal a journal page? Was the goal to reveal a secret or to bury it deeper? The soil smudge in the study haunted him, a clue that tied the indoor theft to the outdoor digging. Someone was playing a dangerous game, and Poirot intended to catch them in the act. As the clock tower chimed midnight, a soft rustle broke the stillness. Hastings tensed, gripping Poirot's arm. "There!" he hissed, pointing to a shadowed figure emerging from the manor's side entrance. The person moved stealthily, cloaked in a hooded coat, carrying a small spade that glinted in the moonlight. Poirot's eyes narrowed as the figure approached the statue, pausing to glance around before kneeling at its base. The faint scrape of metal against earth echoed through the courtyard. "They're digging again," Hastings whispered. "Shall we confront them?" Poirot held up a hand. "No, Hastings, let us see what they seek. Patience is our ally." The manor was cloaked in silence, its windows dark, except for a faint flicker from the servants' quarters. Poirot had instructed the household to retire early, claiming he needed quiet to think, but his true purpose was to lure the mysterious figure who had been tampering with the statue's base. The detective's mind buzzed with questions. Why plant a map only to steal a journal page? Was the goal to reveal a secret or to bury it deeper? The soil smudge in the study haunted him, a clue that tied the indoor theft to the outdoor digging. Someone was playing a dangerous game, and Poirot intended to catch them in the act. As the clock tower chimed midnight, a soft rustle broke the stillness. Hastings tensed, gripping Poirot's arm. "There!" he hissed, pointing to a shadowed figure emerging from the manor's side entrance. The person moved stealthily, cloaked in a hooded coat, carrying a small spade that glinted in the moonlight. Poirot's eyes narrowed as the figure approached the statue, pausing to glance around before kneeling at its base. The faint scrape of metal against earth echoed through the courtyard. "They're digging again," Hastings whispered. "Shall we confront them?" Poirot held up a hand. "No, Hastings, let us see what they seek. Patience is our ally." The manor was cloaked in silence, its windows dark, except for a faint flicker from the servants' quarters. Poirot had instructed the household to retire early, claiming he needed quiet to think, but his true purpose was to lure the mysterious figure who had been tampering with the statue's base. The detective's mind buzzed with questions. Why plant a map only to steal a journal page? Was the goal to reveal a secret or to bury it deeper? The soil smudge in the study haunted him, a clue that tied the indoor theft to the outdoor digging. Someone was playing a dangerous game, and Poirot intended to catch them in the act. As the clock tower chimed midnight, a soft rustle broke the stillness. Hastings tensed, gripping Poirot's arm. "There!" he hissed, pointing to a shadowed figure emerging from the manor's side entrance. The person moved stealthily, cloaked in a hooded coat, carrying a small spade that glinted in the moonlight. Poirot's eyes narrowed as the figure approached the statue, pausing to glance around before kneeling at its base. The faint scrape of metal against earth echoed through the courtyard. "They're digging again," Hastings whispered. "Shall we confront them?" Poirot held up a hand. "No, Hastings, let us see what they seek. Patience is our ally." The manor was cloaked in silence, its windows dark, except for a faint flicker from the servants' quarters. Poirot had instructed the household to retire early, claiming he needed quiet to think, but his true purpose was to lure the mysterious figure who had been tampering with the statue's base. The detective's mind buzzed with questions. Why plant a map only to steal a journal page? Was the goal to reveal a secret or to bury it deeper? The soil smudge in the study haunted him, a clue that tied the indoor theft to the outdoor digging. Someone was playing a dangerous game, and Poirot intended to catch them in the act. As the clock tower chimed midnight, a soft rustle broke the stillness. Hastings tensed, gripping Poirot's arm. "There," he hissed, pointing to a shadowed figure emerging from the manor's side entrance. The person moved stealthily, cloaked in a hooded coat, carrying a small spade that glinted in the moonlight. Poirot's eyes narrowed as the figure approached the statue, pausing to glance around before kneeling at its base. The faint scrape of metal against earth echoed through the courtyard. "They're digging again," Hastings whispered. "Shall we confront them?" Poirot held up a hand. "No, Hastings, let us see what they seek. Patience is our ally." The manor was cloaked in silence, its windows dark, except for a faint flicker from the servants' quarters. Poirot had instructed the household to retire early, claiming he needed quiet to think, but his true purpose was to lure the mysterious figure who had been tampering with the statue's base. The detective's mind buzzed with questions. Why plant a map only to steal a journal page? Was the goal to reveal a secret or to bury it deeper? The soil smudge in the study haunted him, a clue that tied the indoor theft to the outdoor digging. Someone was playing a dangerous game, and Poirot intended to catch them in the act. As the clock tower chimed midnight, a soft rustle broke the stillness. Hastings tensed, gripping Poirot's arm. "There," he hissed, pointing to a shadowed figure emerging from the manor's side entrance. The person moved stealthily, cloaked in a hooded coat, carrying a small spade that glinted in the moonlight. Poirot's eyes narrowed as the figure approached the statue, pausing to glance around before kneeling at its base. The faint scrape of metal against earth echoed through the courtyard. "They're digging again," Hastings whispered. "Shall we confront them?" Poirot held up a hand. "No, Hastings, let us see what they seek. Patience is our ally." The manor was cloaked in silence, its windows dark, except for a faint flicker from the servants' quarters. Poirot had instructed the household to retire early, claiming he needed quiet to think, but his true purpose was to lure the mysterious figure who had been tampering with the statue's base. The detective's mind buzzed with questions. Why plant a map only to steal a journal page? Was the goal to reveal a secret or to bury it deeper? The soil smudge in the study haunted him, a clue that tied the indoor theft to the outdoor digging. Someone was playing a dangerous game, and Poirot intended to catch them in the act. As the clock tower chimed midnight, a soft rustle broke the stillness. Hastings tensed, gripping Poirot's arm. "There," he hissed, pointing to a shadowed figure emerging from the manor's side entrance. The person moved stealthily, cloaked in a hooded coat, carrying a small spade that glinted in the moonlight. Poirot's eyes narrowed as the figure approached the statue, pausing to glance around before kneeling at its base. The faint scrape of metal against earth echoed through the courtyard. "They're digging again," Hastings whispered. "Shall we confront them?" Poirot held up a hand. "No, Hastings, let us see what they seek. Patience is our ally." The manor was cloaked in silence, its windows dark, except for a faint flicker from the servants' quarters. Poirot had instructed the household to retire early, claiming he needed quiet to think, but his true purpose was to lure the mysterious figure who had been tampering with the statue's base. The detective's mind buzzed with questions. Why plant a map only to steal a journal page? Was the goal to reveal a secret or to bury it deeper? The soil smudge in the study haunted him, a clue that tied the indoor theft to the outdoor digging. Someone was playing a dangerous game.
Chapter 4. The Letters of Legacy. The morning light filtered through the heavy drapes of Ashford Manor's guest wing,
casting a soft glow on the polished oak floors. Hercule Poirot, impeccably dressed despite the late-night vigil, stood in Miss Clara Beaumont's room, his keen eyes fixed on a small rosewood box she had reluctantly retrieved from a locked drawer. Captain Hastings hovered nearby, his curiosity barely contained as Clara lifted the lid to reveal a bundle of yellowed letters tied with a faded ribbon. "These were my father's," she said, her voice low, almost reverent. "He wrote them before he died, hinting at something hidden on the estate, something tied to our family's past." Poirot's mustache twitched as he sensed the weight of her words. "Then, mademoiselle, let us uncover what truths your father left behind." Clara hesitated, her fingers lingering on the ribbon, but under Poirot's unwavering gaze, she untied the bundle and handed him the topmost letter. The detective adjusted his pince-nez glasses and began to read aloud, his precise accent filling the room. The letter, penned in a hurried scroll, spoke of a family legend, a treasure buried by an ancestor, a soldier who had returned from a Greek campaign centuries ago with spoils of war, including a sacred relic. This relic, the letter claimed, was hidden beneath a marker of bronze to protect the family's honor and its fortune. Hastings leaned forward. A relic? Could it be linked to that amulet we found last night? Poirot folded the letter carefully, his mind racing. Perhaps, mon ami, but the letter speaks of a singular relic, while the amulet suggests a collection. There is more here than meets the eye. He turned to Clara. "Why did you not share this sooner? This could explain the digging." Clara's eyes flickered with defiance. "I wasn't sure it was real. Father was fanciful, and I didn't want Uncle Reginald to think I was chasing myths to claim the estate's wealth." Her voice softened. "But after the map surfaced, I had to know." Their conversation was interrupted by a sharp knock. Lord Ashford entered, his face etched with concern. "Poirot, the staff found something in the east wing, near the study where my journal was tampered with." The group hurried to the scene, a narrow hallway lined with ancestral portraits. A maid, trembling, pointed to a loose floorboard beneath which lay a small cloth pouch containing a single bronze key, its surface etched with the same symbols as the amulet. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Curieux. Another piece of the puzzle hidden in plain sight. This key, I suspect, unlocks more than a door. Back in the library, Poirot examined the key under a magnifying glass, noting its intricate craftsmanship. "This is no ordinary key, mes amis. It is old, perhaps as old as the statue itself. Lord Ashford, have you seen such a key before?" The lord shook his head, but his wife, Lady Evelyn, who had joined them, paled slightly. It resembles one my husband's grandfather kept in a display case, but it vanished years ago." Her voice wavered, and Poirot noted the unease in her posture. "And where was this case kept?" he pressed. "In the family crypt, beneath the chapel," she replied. Hastings, ever eager, jumped in. "A crypt! That's where we should look next. If the key fits something down there, it might lead to this relic." Poirot nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. The letters, the amulet, the key, all pointed to a carefully orchestrated trail, yet the motives remained murky. Was Clara seeking her family's legacy, or was she hiding a deeper agenda? And Lady Evelyn's reaction, did it stem from fear or guilt? The detective decided to keep the key on his person, sensing its importance warranted protection. As the group prepared to visit the crypt, Sir Geoffrey Langton appeared, his usual bravado subdued. "I overheard about the key," he said, his eyes darting to Clara. "If it's tied to that statue, I'd wager it's worth a fortune.
Ashford, you should have sold that thing when you had the chance." Lord Ashford bristled. "This is about history, Langton, not profit." Poirot observed the exchange silently, noting Sir Geoffrey's keen interest. The rival collector's presence at the manor was no coincidence, he suspected. The chapel, a stone's throw from the manor, was a Gothic relic with stained glass windows casting kaleidoscopic patterns on the floor. The crypt's entrance lay behind the altar, a heavy iron gate that creaked ominously as Lord Ashford pushed it open. The air grew.
Chapter 5. The Tangled Web. The afternoon sun did little to warm the tension that gripped Ashford Manor as Hercule Poirot led the group back from the crypt to the grand dining hall. The empty box in the crypt had raised more questions than answers, and the detective's sharp gaze swept over the assembled guests: Lord and Lady Ashford, Clara Beaumont, Dr. Marcus Hale, and Sir Geoffrey Langton. Each face bore a mask of unease, their polite facades cracking under the weight of suspicion. Captain Hastings, trailing behind, whispered, "Poirot, that empty box, it's like someone's toying with us. What's next?" Poirot's eyes gleamed with resolve. "Next, mon ami, we unravel the alliances that hide in plain sight. The truth is not in the crypt, but in the hearts of those before us." Poirot requested everyone gather in the dining hall, its long mahogany table set with crystal and silver that sparkled under the chandelier. He stood at the head, his small stature commanding the room's attention. "Mes amis," he began, his voice steady, "the events of this weekend, a map, an amulet, a key, an empty box, suggest a carefully laid plan. But by whom, and for what purpose? I propose we discuss your connections to this estate and its secrets. Let us start with you, Dr. Hale." The archaeologist stiffened, his hands clenching. "Me? I've only ever served history. My work on the statue's excavation was purely academic." Before Hale could continue, Lady Evelyn interrupted, her voice sharp. "Academic? You've been far too cozy with my husband's collection, Marcus. I've seen you sketching in that notebook of yours, cataloging every detail." Her accusation hung in the air, and Hale's face reddened. "I'm documenting for posterity, Evelyn, not for profit, unlike some who eye relics like vultures." His gaze flicked to Sir Geoffrey, who laughed coldly. "Don't pin this on me, Hale. I'm here as a guest, not a thief, though I'd wager Clara knows more than she lets on, always sneaking about." Clara's eyes flashed with indignation. "How dare you? I've only sought answers about my father's stories. You're the one who's been pressing Uncle Reginald to sell the statue." The room erupted in accusations, voices overlapping, until Poirot raised a hand, silencing them. "Enough. Accusations without evidence are mere noise. Let us examine facts. Dr. Hale, your notebook, may I see it?" Hale hesitated, then handed over a leather-bound journal, its pages filled with meticulous sketches of the statue and cryptic notes about a guardian's vault. Poirot's fingers traced a particular sketch, a detailed diagram of the statue's base, annotated with measurements and symbols matching the amulet and key. "This is most interesting, monsieur. You knew of a hidden compartment, did you not?" Hale swallowed hard. I suspected one, based on the dig's lore, but I never found it." Poirot's gaze shifted to Lady Evelyn, who had grown pale. "And you, madame, mentioned a key from your husband's grandfather, yet you did not speak of it until pressed. Why?" Her lips trembled. I feared stirring old family rumors, tales of greed and betrayal. I thought they were just stories." The tension was palpable, but before Poirot could press further, a crash echoed from the hall's far end. The group turned to see a silver candelabra toppled on the floor, and standing beside it was the butler, Mr. Grayson, his stern face uncharacteristically flushed. "My apologies, I was cleaning," he stammered. "At this hour? In this room? Most curious, monsieur.
"Join us, if you please." Grayson hesitated, then took a seat, his hands fidgeting. Hastings leaned close to Poirot. "The butler? Surely he's not involved." Poirot's whisper was barely audible. "Everyone is a suspect until proven otherwise, Hastings." Poirot paced slowly, his voice measured. "Let us consider. Someone—"
Chapter 6. The Unexpected Guest. The atmosphere in Ashford Manor crackled with suspicion as the afternoon waned, the weight of accusations and half-truths hanging heavy among the guests. Hercule Poirot, his mind a whirl of connections, stood by the library window, gazing at the bronze statue in the courtyard. Its unyielding presence seemed to mock the chaos within the manor's walls. Captain Hastings, restless as ever, paced nearby. "Poirot, this pact Grayson mentioned, it's got to be the key. But who's working with whom?" Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Patience, mon ami. The truth is like a fine wine. It reveals itself when the time is right. And I suspect that time is near." A sudden commotion at the manor's entrance broke his reverie. The heavy oak doors swung open, and the butler, Mr. Grayson, announced a new arrival with a strained voice. "A Mr. Victor Moreau, sir, claiming urgent business with Lord Ashford." The name sent a ripple through the room. Lord Ashford frowned, his brow furrowing. "Moreau? I don't know any Moreau." But Poirot's mustache twitched with interest. "Let us meet this unexpected guest, Lord Ashford. In a case of secrets, an uninvited visitor is rarely a coincidence." Victor Moreau was a wiry man in his late 40s, with a weathered face and eyes that darted like a fox's. His travel-worn coat suggested a long journey, and he carried a leather satchel clutched tightly under one arm. As he entered the drawing room, where the guests had gathered, his gaze swept over them, lingering on Dr. Marcus Hale. "Lord Ashford," he began, his voice carrying a faint French accent, "I've come about the statue. I was part of the excavation team in Greece, and I have information you need to hear." Hale's face paled, and he took a step back, his hand gripping the arm of a chair. Poirot stepped forward, his presence commanding. "Monsieur Moreau, I am Hercule Poirot, and I am investigating certain irregularities surrounding the statue. What brings you here so urgently?" Moreau hesitated, glancing at the assembled group. Lady Evelyn, Clara, Sir Geoffrey, and Hale, all watching him with varying degrees of suspicion. "I was not supposed to come," he admitted, "but when I heard the statue had been moved here, I knew trouble would follow. There's a relic, a golden diadem buried with it. It's cursed, or so the locals believed. I tried to warn Dr. Hale, but he dismissed me." Hale's voice was sharp. "You were a laborer, Moreau, not an expert. Your stories of curses were nonsense, meant to scare the workers." Moreau's eyes flashed. "Nonsense? Then why did you keep digging after I left? You knew about the diadem, didn't you?" The accusation hung in the air, and Poirot noted the tension in Hale's posture. "Monsieur Hale," Poirot said smoothly, "perhaps you can clarify. Did you know of this diadem?" Hale shifted uncomfortably. "I heard rumors, yes, but I found no proof. Moreau was unreliable, always stirring trouble." Lady Evelyn, her composure fraying, interjected. "A diadem? Is this why my husband's journal was tampered with? To hide such a find?" Moreau turned to her. "Lady Ashford, I believe someone here knows exactly where it is. I saw a coded message at the dig site, hinting at a hiding place beneath the statue. I came to warn you. Someone's after it, and they'll stop at nothing." Clara, silent until now, spoke up, her voice steady but cold. "And how do we know you're not after it yourself, Mr. Moreau? You show up unannounced, spinning tales of curses." Poirot raised a hand, silencing the brewing argument. "Monsieur Moreau, this coded message, do you have it?" Moreau nodded, reaching into his satchel to produce a crumpled piece of paper. The symbols on it matched those on the amulet and key, but they formed a sequence Poirot hadn't seen before. "This," Poirot murmured, "is a cipher. It may lead to the diadem, or it may be another piece of the trap." He turned to the group. "No one leaves this room until I decipher this. Hastings, fetch my notebook." As Hastings hurried off, Poirot studied the guests. Sir Geoffrey's eyes were fixed on Moreau's satchel, as if calculating its contents. Lady Evelyn clutched her husband's arm, her face a mask of worry. Clara's gaze was unreadable, while Hale seemed on the verge of bolting. Moreau, for his part, stood defiant, but Poirot sensed a tremor of fear beneath his bravado. The detective's mind raced. A diadem, a cipher, a pact. Each clue pointed to a conspiracy, but the players remained elusive. The arrival of a stranger and a cryptic cipher shake the investigation to its core. In Chapter 7, a dangerous confrontation in the West Wing exposes a secret that threatens to tear the manor apart.
Chapter 7. Shadows of Betrayal. The evening shadows lengthened across Ashford Manor, turning the once grand estate into a labyrinth of dim corridors and flickering candlelight. Hercule Poirot, his impeccable suit now slightly rumpled from the day's exertions, gathered the guests once more in the drawing-room. The air was thick with unspoken accusations, the arrival of Victor Moreau having ignited a powder keg of distrust. Captain Hastings stood by the fireplace, his usually cheerful face etched with concern as he watched Poirot pace slowly before the assembled group: Lord and Lady Ashford, Clara Beaumont, Dr. Marcus Hale, Sir Geoffrey Langton, and the newcomer, Moreau. Even the butler, Mr. Grayson, lingered at the door, his presence a silent reminder of the manor's fractured loyalties. Poirot stopped pacing and faced them, his piercing gray eyes scanning each face in turn. "Mes amis," he began, his voice calm yet carrying an undercurrent of steel. "The cipher from Monsieur Moreau has led us to a scrap of fabric, a mere thread in this tangled web. But threads, when pulled, can unravel the entire tapestry. I believe the diadem he speaks of is not just a relic of antiquity, but the heart of a modern conspiracy. Tonight, we must confront the shadows in the West Wing where the cipher pointed us. There, perhaps, we will find the truth, or the one who hides it." Lord Ashford nodded gravely, his silver hair catching the light from the chandelier. "Very well, Poirot, the West Wing it is. But I warn you all, stay close. That part of the manor has been unused for years, and it's full of old family heirlooms, and ghosts, if you believe the tales." Lady Evelyn clutched her husband's arm, her elegant features pale under the strain. "Reginald, must we? After what happened in the crypt?" Her voice trailed off, but Poirot interjected gently. "Madame, fear is the ally of the guilty. We proceed with caution, but proceed we must." The group moved as one through the manor's echoing halls, their footsteps muffled by thick Persian rugs. The West Wing was a forgotten relic, its doors creaking open to reveal dust-covered furniture draped in white sheets, like specters frozen in time. Cobwebs adorned the high ceilings, and the air carried a musty scent of neglect. Hastings carried a lantern, its flame casting dancing shadows on the walls adorned with faded portraits of Ashford ancestors, their eyes seeming to follow the intruders. Moreau walked beside Poirot, his satchel still clutched tightly. "Monsieur Poirot, I sense danger. The diadem, it's said to bring ruin to those who seek it unworthily." They reached the old ballroom, the same chamber where the hidden panel had yielded the fabric scrap earlier that day. Poirot directed Hastings to relight the chandelier, and soon the room was bathed in a soft golden glow. The detective examined the panel again, his gloved fingers tracing the warrior motif. "We found the compartment empty, but perhaps there is more, a false bottom or another mechanism." As he pressed and prodded, a faint click echoed. But it came not from the panel. Instead, from the far end of the ballroom, where a section of the parquet floor shifted slightly. Clara gasped,
her hand flying to her mouth. What was that? Before anyone could respond, Sir Geoffrey lunged forward, his booming voice now a growl. "Enough games. If there's something here, I'll find it." He knelt by the shifted floorboard, prying it up with surprising strength. Beneath lay a small cavity, and inside, a velvet pouch, its contents glinting in the lantern light. "The diadem!" Hale exclaimed, stepping closer. But as Sir Geoffrey reached for it, Poirot shouted, "No! It's a trap!" Chaos erupted. The floorboard snapped back with a mechanical thud, but not before Sir Geoffrey snatched the pouch. He stood, triumphant, only for his expression to twist in shock as he opened it. Inside was not a diadem, but a cluster of jagged glass shards, one of which sliced his palm. "What the devil?" he roared, blood dripping on the floor. Lady Evelyn screamed, and Lord Ashford rushed to her side. Poirot's eyes widened in realization. "Everyone, back! This is no accident, it's a diversion!" From the shadows of an adjoining alcove, a figure emerged, cloaked and hooded, wielding a small pistol that gleamed menacingly. "Stay where you are," the voice hissed, distorted but familiar. The group froze, Hastings instinctively stepping in front of Poirot. Moreau's face drained of color. I knew you were here." The hooded figure laughed bitterly. "You should have stayed away, Victor. The diadem is mine, payment for years of betrayal." Poirot's voice cut through the tension like a knife. "Lower the weapon, monsieur, or, should I say, Dr. Hale." The figure hesitated, then pulled back the hood, revealing not Hale, but Mr. Grayson, the butler, his stern features twisted in desperation. "Grayson!" Lord Ashford bellowed, his face reddening with fury. "You! After all these years of service!" "Service? You call it service, when your family stole my ancestors' legacy? The diadem was brought back by my great-grandfather, a servant to yours, but hidden away by the Ashfords to claim the glory. I've waited, watched, and now, with the statue's arrival, I knew it was time." Clara stepped forward, her voice steady, despite the fear in her eyes. "But the pact Grayson mentioned, was that you, colluding with someone?" Grayson sneered. "With Hale, the fool! He thought we were partners in academia, but I used him to decipher the clues. The map, the amulet, the key, all planted to lead you astray, while I searched for the real hiding place." Hale, aghast, stammered, You lied to me. The sketches, the cipher, they were for this?" Poirot nodded slowly, piecing it together aloud. "Oui, the burned letter was your doing, Grayson, to cover your tracks, and the fabric scrap, a misdirection to the family vault. But the diadem, where is it truly?" Grayson's eyes darted to the statue visible through the ballroom's tall windows, standing sentinel in the courtyard. "Under the bronze where it belongs, but you'll never—" His words were cut short as Moreau, with surprising agility, tackled him from the side. The pistol fired wildly, shattering a mirror, and the group surged forward. Hastings wrestled the weapon away, while Sir Geoffrey, despite his injured hand, helped subdue the butler. In the ensuing struggle, Grayson's satchel, Moreau's satchel, fell open, spilling papers, and a golden diadem, ornate and ancient, tumbling onto the floor. Lady Evelyn gasped, "It's here! But how?" Moreau, panting, straightened. "I found it at the dig site, hidden in the statue's base before it was shipped. I came not to warn, but to protect it from thieves like Grayson." Poirot's mustache twitched in amusement. "Ah, monsieur, you are no mere laborer, are you? A guardian, no? Sent by authorities, perhaps?" Moreau nodded, his facade cracking. "Interpol. The statue was looted. The diadem is evidence. I infiltrated the manor to recover it before it vanished into private hands." Lord Ashford's face fell. "Looted? But I bought it legitimately." Moreau shook his head. "Through black market channels, unknowingly. Grayson must have learned of it and planned to steal it for himself. As the local constable, summoned by Hastings, arrived to take Grayson away,
The group retreated to the drawing room, the diadem safely in Poirot's custody. The detective addressed them all. The secrets under the bronze statue were not just artifacts, but echoes of greed and legacy. Grayson sought revenge, Hale, knowledge, Moreau, justice, but the manor holds no more shadows tonight. Yet as the guests dispersed, Poirot lingered, his mind not fully at ease. A lingering glance from Clara, a whispered word from Lady Evelyn. Something remained unresolved. The diadem was recovered, but was the true mastermind captured? The confrontation unveils a web of deceit, but loose ends whisper of deeper intrigue. In Chapter 8, Poirot's final gathering exposes the ultimate betrayal, bringing the mystery to a shattering close.
Chapter 8. The Final Unveiling. The grand drawing room of Ashford Manor glowed under the soft flicker of candlelight, its heavy velvet curtains drawn against the encroaching darkness of the late autumn evening. The air was heavy with the aftermath of the West Wing confrontation, where the butler Grayson's shocking betrayal had unraveled a plot rooted in centuries-old grievances. Hercule Poirot stood before the gathered guests. Lord and Lady Ashford, Clara Beaumont, Dr. Marcus Hale, Sir Geoffrey Langton, and Victor Moreau, his small frame radiating authority. The golden diadem, now safely locked in a velvet-lined case on the mantelpiece, gleamed as a silent witness to the secrets it had unleashed. Captain Hastings, standing near the fireplace, shifted uneasily, sensing the detective's uncharacteristic tension. "Poirot," he whispered, "Grayson's in custody. The diadem's recovered. Surely the case is closed." Poirot's eyes, sharp as ever, flickered with a knowing glint. "Non, mon ami? The little gray cells tell me one final thread remains. Tonight, we expose the true architect of this drama." Poirot turned to the group, his voice measured but commanding. "Mes amis, we have uncovered much: a map, an amulet, a key, a cipher, and a diadem. All pieces of a puzzle that led us to Grayson's treachery. But I, Hercule Poirot, am not convinced the butler acted alone. His knowledge was precise, his actions bold, yet he lacked the finesse to orchestrate such a complex charade. Someone guided him, someone with intimate knowledge of this manor and its secrets." A murmur rippled through the room, eyes darting suspiciously. Lady Evelyn's hand tightened on her husband's, while Clara's gaze dropped to the floor. Hale fidgeted, and Sir Geoffrey's usual bravado was replaced by a wary silence. Moreau, the Interpol agent, stood impassive, his role as guardian of the diadem now clear. "Let us reconstruct," Poirot continued, pacing slowly before the hearth. "The map in the box, planted to be found, was a lure, to draw attention to the statue's base. The amulet, buried shallowly, was meant to escalate the hunt. The key in the study, the empty box in the crypt, the cipher from Monsieur Moreau, all carefully staged to keep us chasing shadows. But why? To distract from the diadem's true location? Yes, but also to manipulate events so the real culprit could remain hidden." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. Grayson believed he was reclaiming a family legacy, but he was a pawn in a larger game. The question is, whose game? Lord Ashford cleared his throat, his voice strained. "Poirot, you can't mean one of us. Grayson confessed. He used Hale, planted the clues. What more is there?" Poirot's mustache twitched. "Much, Lord Ashford. Grayson burned a letter mentioning a pact, but he did not write it. The fabric scrap with your family crest found in the West Wing was not placed by him. It was too pristine, too deliberate. Someone with access to your private vaults and knowledge of your family's history
orchestrated this. And I believe that someone is among us now." The room fell silent, the crackle of the fire the only sound. Poirot turned to Clara. "Mademoiselle Beaumont, your father's letters spoke of a relic, yet you withheld them until pressed. Why?" Clara's eyes flashed with defiance. "I told you they were personal. I didn't want to air family secrets." Poirot nodded, then pivoted to Lady Evelyn. "And you, madame, knew of the key from your husband's grandfather, yet remained silent until the crypt was mentioned. Your fear, was it of the past or of exposure?" Lady Evelyn's lips parted, but no words came. Sir Geoffrey, his hand bandaged from the glass trap, scoffed. "This is absurd, Poirot. You're grasping at straws. I'm a collector, not a conspirator." Poirot raised a hand, silencing him. "Non, Sir Geoffrey. Let us consider motive. The diadem's value is immense, but so is its symbolic power. For Grayson, it was revenge. For Monsieur Moreau, it was duty. But for our mastermind, it was control. Control over the manor, its wealth, or its legacy." He turned to Dr. Hale. "You, monsieur, provided sketches and ciphers, yet claimed ignorance of Grayson's true intent. Were you truly so blind?" Hale's face reddened. "I swear, I thought we were partners in research. He used me." Poirot's gaze softened, but his tone grew sharper. "And you, Lady Evelyn, have been a shadow in this mystery, always watching, always hesitant. Your reaction to the key, your distress over the journal, tell me, what do you know of the Ashford vault?" Lady Evelyn's composure cracked, tears welling in her eyes. I suspected Reginald's obsession with the statue would bring trouble. My grandfather warned me of the family's past, deaths, thefts, secrets buried to protect our name. I thought if the diadem was found, it would ruin us." A gasp escaped Clara, and Poirot seized the moment. "Ruin, madame, or enrich? I propose a theory. You, Lady Evelyn, knew the diadem's true location from your grandfather's tales. You enlisted Grayson, feeding him stories of his ancestors' claim to create chaos while you secured the relic for yourself. The fabric scrap, placed in the West Wing, was your mistake. It tied the scheme to the Ashford vault, accessible only to you." The room erupted in shock. Lord Ashford stood, his face ashen. "Evelyn, is this true?" Before she could respond, Moreau stepped forward, his voice low. "There's more, Poirot. I intercepted a telegram yesterday, sent from this manor to an auction house in Paris. It offered the diadem for sale, signed with an alias, but the handwriting matches Lady Evelyn's." He produced a crumpled paper, and Poirot's eyes gleamed as he examined it. "We, the final piece. Madame, you sought to sell the diadem using Grayson's vendetta as a smokescreen. The pact was yours, with him as your unwitting tool." Lady Evelyn collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "I had no choice. The estate is crumbling, debts piling up. The diadem was our salvation. I only meant to protect our legacy." Lord Ashford looked at her, betrayal etched in his features. Clara's voice was cold. "You used me too, didn't you? Stirring my curiosity with those letters to keep me distracted." Lady Evelyn nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm sorry." Poirot's expression softened, but his resolve was firm. "The truth is revealed, mes amis. Lady Evelyn, your actions endangered lives, but your motive was desperation, not malice. The authorities will decide your fate." He turned to Moreau. "The diadem will return to its rightful place, oui?" Moreau nodded. "To Greece, under Interpol's care." As the constable was called to escort Lady Evelyn, the group dispersed, their spirits heavy with the weight of betrayal. Poirot and Hastings remained in the drawing room, the diadem's case now empty, its contents secured for transport. "What a mess, Poirot," Hastings sighed. All for a piece of gold. Poirot shook his head. "No, Hastings. For pride, for legacy, for survival. The human heart is the true mystery." Outside, the bronze statue stood silent, its secrets finally laid bare. The case closes with a heartbreaking revelation, but the manor's shadows linger. In Chapter 9, Poirot ties up the final loose ends, uncovering one last surprise that redefines the Ashford legacy.
Chapter 9. The Last Secret. The dawn broke over Ashford Manor with a hesitant glow, as if the sun itself were reluctant to illuminate the aftermath of the previous night's revelations. The grand estate, once a beacon of opulence, now felt like a hollow shell, its secrets laid bare by Hercule Poirot's relentless pursuit of truth. The drawing room, where the guests had gathered so often, was quiet now, the air heavy with the weight of Lady Evelyn's confession. She sat in a corner, her face drawn and tear-streaked, awaiting the arrival of the authorities. Lord Ashford stood by the window, staring out at the bronze statue of Achilles, its imposing form a constant reminder of the chaos it had unleashed. Captain Hastings, ever loyal, sat near Poirot, his notebook open but unused, his mind still reeling from the betrayal. "Poirot, Lady Evelyn was the mastermind, Grayson her pawn. Is it truly over?" Poirot's eyes, sharp as ever, gleamed with a flicker of unease. "Almost, mon ami. But the little gray cells sense one final secret, a truth that redefines the Ashford legacy." Poirot gathered the remaining guests, Lord Ashford, Clara Beaumont, Dr. Marcus Hale, Sir Geoffrey Langton, and Victor Moreau, in the library, where the morning light filtered through tall windows, casting long shadows across the rows of leather-bound books. The diadem, now safely packed for its return to Greece under Moreau's care, was no longer the focus. Instead, Poirot held a small weathered journal, not Lord Ashford's, but one found among Grayson's belongings during a search of his quarters. Its pages were filled with cryptic notes, not in Grayson's hand, but in a script that matched the torn letter he had claimed to burn. "Mes amis," Poirot began, his voice steady, "we have uncovered a conspiracy of greed and desperation. But this journal suggests a deeper truth, one that ties the Ashford family to the statue in ways we have not yet explored." Lord Ashford frowned, his hands clasped tightly. "What more could there be, Poirot? My wife's actions have already shamed us." Poirot raised a hand, his expression calm but resolute. "No, Lord Ashford, this is not about shame, but about history. The journal, written by your grandfather's steward, Grayson's ancestor, details a pact, not with Lady Evelyn, but with an earlier Ashford. It speaks of a vow to protect a secret tied to the statue, a secret that was never meant to be unearthed." The group leaned forward, their curiosity piqued despite their exhaustion. Clara's voice was soft but firm. "My father's letters mentioned a relic, but also a curse. Was that part of this vow?" Poirot nodded, opening the journal to a marked page. "Oui, mademoiselle. The steward wrote of a relic, not just the diadem, but a document hidden with it, sealed in wax and buried beneath the statue when it was first brought to the estate centuries ago. This document, he claimed, could ruin the Ashford name if revealed." Moreau's eyes narrowed. "A document? Why wasn't it found with the diadem?" Poirot's mustache twitched. "Because, monsieur, it was never meant to be found by thieves or treasure hunters. It was buried deeper, in a chamber only accessible by those who knew its exact location." The detective's words sent a chill through the room. Dr. Hale, his scholarly curiosity overriding his earlier shame, spoke up. "A chamber?
The statue's base was thoroughly excavated during its installation. We'd have noticed." Poirot shook his head. "No, Dr. Hale. The steward's journal describes a mechanism, a hidden lever beneath the statue's plinth, designed to open a sealed compartment. Grayson knew of it, but Lady Evelyn did not. Her plan was to sell the diadem, unaware of the greater secret it guarded." Hastings, ever practical, interjected. "Then we must check the statue again. If this document exists, it could change everything." The group moved to the courtyard, where the bronze Achilles stood as imposing as ever, its polished surface reflecting the pale sky morning. Poirot knelt at the statue's base, his gloved hands probing the stone plinth with meticulous care. After several tense minutes, a soft click echoed, and a small panel slid open, revealing a narrow shaft descending into the earth. Lord Ashford gasped. "All these years! I never knew!" Poirot produced a flashlight, its beam illuminating a metal box, rusted but intact, nestled in the shaft. With Hastings' help, he retrieved it, brushing away centuries of dirt to reveal a wax seal bearing the Ashford crest. Back in the library, Poirot carefully broke the seal, revealing a single parchment, its ink faded but legible. The group crowded around as he read aloud. It was a confession, penned by an Ashford ancestor, admitting to the theft of the diadem and other relics from a Greek tomb during a military campaign. The confession detailed how the stolen treasures funded the manor's construction, but also spoke of a vow to protect the relic's true origin, lest the family's honor and wealth be forfeit. "My grandfather knew," Lord Ashford whispered, his voice hollow. "He hid this to protect our name." Clara's eyes welled with tears. "So my father's stories were true. Our legacy is built on theft." Sir Geoffrey, his usual bravado muted, shook his head. No wonder Grayson was so bitter. His ancestor was complicit, yet got nothing. Moreau, ever practical, added, "This document will go with the diadem to Greece. It's evidence of the looting, but also a chance for restitution." Poirot nodded. "Oui, monsieur. The truth, though painful, brings closure. The Ashford legacy must now be rebuilt on honesty, not secrets." As the group processed the revelation, Poirot turned to Lord Ashford. "You, monsieur, must decide how to face this past. The manor stands, but its soul is in your hands." Lord Ashford nodded, his expression resolute. "We'll make amends. Donations, perhaps, to preserve Greek heritage. It's what my grandfathers should have done." Lady Evelyn, silent until now, spoke softly. I only wanted to save us, Reginald. I didn't know the full truth." Her husband took her hand, a flicker of forgiveness in his eyes. The manor buzzed with a bittersweet calm as the guests prepared to depart. Moreau would escort the diadem and document to Interpol. Hale vowed to publish his findings ethically, and Sir Geoffrey, chastened, promised to rethink his acquisitive ways. Clara, standing by the statue, whispered to Poirot, "Thank you, monsieur. You've given us a chance to start anew." Poirot bowed slightly. "The truth, mademoiselle, is always the best foundation." As Poirot and Hastings packed for their return to London, the detective gazed one last time at the bronze statue, its secrets now fully revealed. "A fine case, Hastings. The human heart, not stone or gold, holds the deepest mysteries." Hastings grinned. "And a fine story to tell over tea, eh? If you enjoyed this tale, dear viewers, hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us. The Ashford legacy is redefined, but one final surprise awaits. In Chapter 10, A Letter from the Past delivers a poignant message, closing the case with a touch of hope.
Chapter 10, The Letter of Redemption. The sun dipped low over Ashford Manor, casting a golden hue across the sprawling estate as the final day of Hercule Poirot's investigation drew to a close. The bronze statue of Achilles, once a silent guardian of secrets, now stood as a symbol of truth unveiled. The grand library, with its towering shelves and lingering scent of old leather, was the stage for Poirot's final gathering. The guests, Lord Reginald Ashford, Lady Evelyn, Clara Beaumont, Dr. Marcus Hale, Sir Geoffrey Langton, and Victor Moreau sat in a semicircle, their faces a mix of exhaustion, relief, and anticipation. Captain Hastings, ever the faithful companion, stood by Poirot's side, his eyes bright with the thrill of resolution. "This is it, Poirot, the end of the line. But is there more to uncover?" Poirot's moustache twitched, a faint smile betraying his satisfaction. "Oui, mon ami, one last surprise awaits, a message from the past that binds all threads together." Poirot held up a small sealed envelope, its edges worn but intact, found tucked inside the metal box alongside the confession parchment in the statue's hidden compartment. The wax seal bore the same Ashford crest, but the handwriting was distinct, elegant, and unfamiliar. "Mes amis," Poirot began, his voice resonating with quiet authority, "we have unraveled a tapestry of deceit, a stolen diadem, a family's hidden shame, and a conspiracy led by Lady Evelyn, with Grayson as her unwitting pawn. The confession beneath the statue revealed the Ashford legacy's dark origins, a fortune built on looted relics. But this envelope, overlooked in our haste, holds the final piece of the puzzle. It is a letter, written not by an Ashford, but by the steward who served them, Grayson's ancestor, and it carries a message of redemption." The group leaned forward, their breaths held as Poirot broke the seal and unfolded the brittle paper. His clear, precise voice filled the room as he read aloud. "To the heirs of Ashford Manor, I, Thomas Grayson, steward to Lord Edmund Ashford in 1853, write this knowing my time is near. The diadem and its secrets were buried beneath the bronze warrior to protect the family I served, but also to atone for my part in their theft. I was no mere servant. I loved Lady Marguerite Ashford, sister to Lord Edmund, in secret. She knew of the relics stolen during a campaign in Greece and urged me to hide them, not for greed, but to spare her family disgrace. We vowed to return the treasures one day, but her death and my silence buried that hope. If you read this, know that the Ashford wealth is tainted, but redemption lies in truth. Return what was taken and honor Marguerite's wish for peace." A stunned silence followed, only broken by Clara's soft sob. "Marguerite, my great-great-aunt! Father spoke of her kindness, but never this." Lord Ashford's face softened, his earlier anger replaced by a quiet sorrow. "My grandfather never mentioned her love for a steward. It must have broken her heart to keep such a secret." Lady Evelyn, her eyes red from tears, whispered, "I thought I was saving us, Reginald, but I only deepened a shame Marguerite tried to undo." Poirot nodded, his expression gentle but firm. "Madame, your actions were misguided, but this letter shows the path forward. The diadem and confession will return to Greece as Marguerite wished, and the Ashford family's name can heal through honesty." Moreau, the Interpol agent, stepped forward, his stern demeanor softened by the letter's weight. "I'll ensure the diadem and documents are handled with care. Greece will welcome their return, and the Ashford family's cooperation will be noted." Dr. Hale, his scholarly pride humbled, added, "I'll write the truth in my report, no embellishments. The world deserves to know the story, not just the treasure."
Sir Geoffrey, his usual bravado absent, nodded solemnly. "I've chased relics for profit, but this changes things. I'll fund a museum exhibit for the diadem, anonymously, to honor Marguerite's memory." Poirot turned to Clara, whose resolve had grown through the ordeal. "Mademoiselle, your father's letter sparked this journey. What will you do now?" Clara wiped her tears, her voice steady. "I'll help Uncle Reginald rebuild our legacy, through charity, not secrets. Marguerite's story deserves to be told." Lord Ashford placed a hand on her shoulder, a silent promise of unity. The room felt lighter, as if the manor itself exhaled centuries of burden. But Poirot's work was not quite done. He held up the journal Grayson had carried, its pages now fully deciphered. "One final revelation, mes amis. Grayson's ancestor, Thomas, left a map within this journal, not the one we found, but a sketch of the estate's chapel, marking a hidden niche behind the altar. I visited it this morning." From his pocket he produced a small locket, its silver surface engraved with Marguerite's initials. Inside was a faded portrait of a young woman and a lock of hair. "This," Poirot said, "was Thomas's keepsake, left for the Ashfords to find. A symbol of love, not greed, that endured beyond the grave." Clara took the locket, her fingers trembling. "It's beautiful. A reminder that even in our darkest secrets, there's humanity." Poirot bowed slightly. "Oui, mademoiselle. The heart, not the treasure, is the true legacy." As the guests dispersed, Moreau preparing to depart with the diadem, Hale and Langton discussing their next steps, and Lord Ashford comforting his wife, Poirot and Hastings stepped into the courtyard. The bronze statue loomed above, no longer a harbinger of secrets, but a monument to truth. Hastings grinned, clapping Poirot on the shoulder. "Another triumph, old chap. What a tale to tell. And to our viewers, if you've been gripped by this mystery, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world to us." Poirot chuckled softly. "The little grey cells, Hastings, they never rest. But for now we return to London, where a tisane and a quiet evening await." As they boarded their carriage, the manor fading into the distance, Poirot's mind lingered on Marguerite and Thomas, a love that through truth had finally found peace.